Yo, what up?
Yo, BTV Sports is in the building. What it is, everybody, is Jason Enrique along with
Mr. Yahtzee himself. You go, boy.
Yes, indeed. Yes, indeed.
What is going on, everybody? Jason Enrique here alongside with Ugo from the Ugo Boy podcast. And of course,
go, boy.
And of course, myself from the First Class Second Place podcast. We are back with another episode. This is episode 3, I believe.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
And we got a lot to get to in the world of sport. I would say that the biggest news so far, especially in the NFL, because the NFL is king, as we all know, is that Trey Lance, former third overall pick in the first round from the San Francisco 49ers, has been traded to your Dallas Cowboys. And I know that you've actually touched on a little bit on Twitter or X, whatever you want to call it. And, but I've been wanting to know for quite a while about what your initial take on is, since the Cowboys have acquired Trey Lance. You, like I said, you touched on a little bit on social media, but I guess I wanted to get your elaborated take on this. So what are your thoughts about Trey Lance now officially in Dallas?
I love the move. I love the move in every sense of the word, as I mentioned on social media. I think that for a couple of layers here to unpack here. Let's deep dive here.
All right.
So first and foremost, there are 2 big contracts on the way for the Cowboys. CeeDee Lamb and Micah Parsons. So whatever Nick Bosa gets from the Niners, hopefully that drags onto the year so he can miss games. But whatever the Niners give Bosa, just add a 0 at the end for what they're going to give Micah, because it's going to be monster. He's going to be the highest paid defensive player in NFL history, not just in the league right now, but in NFL history, easily.
And they got the money for it.
And they got the money for it. They definitely have the money for it. They'll have the cap space for it. The cap goes up every year. And on top of that, what I love about what our front office does is they do a good job of maneuvering and massaging the cap, because it's fungible. Just because you have $5 million left in the bank, you can move stuff around, you can trigger, you can rework contracts, so forth and so on. But anyway, those 2 deals are coming unequivocally. They got Trey Diggs out the way. That was a big one. And he didn't have a 5th-year option. He was a 2nd-round pick, so they had no choice to get his done or tag him, which they didn't want to do because that was going to be a ridiculous tag for corner. So Diggs is done. Mike is coming. CD's coming.
They'd be crazy not to lock up Parsons.
They trust me, they will. Like, it'll be announced probably on the show, like when it happens.
Right.
But it's coming. So, with that being said, notice the name that I didn't say. I didn't say Dak's contract.
No, you did not.
And
which actually brings up, that's why the whole Trey Lance thing is intriguing, because you already have a quarterback. He's your star quarterback, and you guys are paying him like a top elite quarterback.
Yeah.
So what does that say about bringing in a Trey Lance, who is basically an unproven commodity, but a lot of people have high praise for him?
So what it says is, first of all, they're gonna get a Dak deal done, and here's why they'll get a Dak deal done: because they can't tag him anymore. He has a no tag clause, and he's got a no trade clause, and his cap number for not this season but next season is something crazy like $62 million, like NBA money next year. So they obviously have to rework that and get an extension done or whatnot. What this does, it lets Dak and it lets the quarterback room and lets the team know, listen, we have given you everything to get this thing done, to go on a run, a Super Bowl run. Not just win 1 or 2 playoff games. No, go on a Super Bowl run. We've given you everything. And that has been my biggest knock. The Cowboys have been notorious for triple B. Bargain basement bullshit. They've been notorious for that for years. Oh, we need a pass rusher. Let's get Jeremy Mincey off the scrap heap. Do you know that name? Probably not.
Probably not. No. I really don't know.
We need a wide receiver. Let's go get John David Washington from Ballers. James Washington.
There you go.
to replace Amari Cooper. They have been notorious for bargain basement bullshit, shopping at the freaking discount line in terms of getting impact players to help the team get over the hump. The Rams, they paid for it with cap hell and missing the playoffs last year, but they went all in and they got a Super Bowl out of it.
That's the only thing that they can fall back on.
Exactly.
I don't know what's going to happen with them for the next couple of years.
Exactly.
They're going to be trash.
Exactly. So I'm not saying to do that, to go the Rams, sacrifice, rob Peter to pay Paul, like sacrifice 5 or 10 years for a championship. I'm not saying to do that. What I am saying, though, is you have to get impact players in free agency to complement what you're doing in the draft. It's okay that you draft well, and we've mentioned it in previous episodes.
Yes, we have.
The Cowboys, Chiefs, Patriots. They are the best drafters of all pros, top 100 players, Pro Bowlers than any team in the league. But the difference is the coaching, and the difference also is free agency. The Cowboys have not been trading and signing impact free agents for a very long time. It's very frustrating. But that wasn't the case this year. That wasn't the case. You got Brandon Cooks, you got Stephon Gilmore, both top 10 players when healthy in this league. To circle back to the Dak situation, they've given Dak Prescott everything he needs. And on top of that, you remove Kellen Moore, whose play calling is very questionable in the playoffs, hence the last 2 playoff losses.
It's not Madden.
This is not Madden in your basement, as Michael Lombardi says. Joystick. He calls him, shout out to the true savage, Michael Lombardi.
Yes.
Now Mike McCarthy is calling plays along with Brian Schottenheimer, which is going to help the passing game.
Absolutely.
You have all the tools. This move basically lets Dak and everybody know, listen, we want to win. So we're either going to win with you or we're going to win without you moving forward. Because even if they extend him and say that, you know what, let's extend Lance. Let's keep him around for a couple more years. Let's develop him. Let's bring him along. You got somebody in the room who has all the tools. Like Dallas really wanted him. Like I was listening to John Lynch talk about it during the Niners preseason game. He's a couple teams were interested. Buffalo was interested. So everybody who thinks that Cowboys got this to replace Dak, did Buffalo want to replace Josh Allen?
I don't think so.
Because they wanted him too. A number of teams wanted him too. It wasn't just Dallas, but Dallas saw what other teams saw. This guy's raw and really unused. And even Kyle Shanahan mentioned it. They let him down. They did not scheme around and build the team and game style around his strengths. And on top of that, the guy was hurt. He was hurt a lot too.
Yeah, he broke his finger at that preseason game, right?
Exactly.
Yeah.
And then he broke his ankle one game into the season because they were running him too much. Because again, they did the opposite of what they did with Brock Purdy. They're just like, all right, we're going to just put this around Brock, but we're going to simplify this and just let the playmakers eat and make it real easy for Brock. Mind you, we'll see. We'll get to that later, how they're going to look this year and moving forward. But they did the opposite with Lance. They were just like, listen, figure it out. And you don't do that with a quarterback. They didn't put him in a position to succeed whatsoever. I think the Cowboys know that they have a plan for developing him. They developed Cooper Rush into a competent NFL starter.
They did.
Like Cooper Rush can win games for you on pretty much any team in the league right now.
He's the type of quarterback that if your starter quarterback is out for 3 or 4 games, he's going to be serviceable.
Exactly, and that's hard to do.
Yes.
For an undrafted guy that was on his way to the XFL, that's hard to do. But the Cowboys, their developmental program, they did that. They feel in their hearts they can do that with Trey Lance, who is way more talented than Cooper Rush. Like light years ahead in terms of arm strength, ability, accuracy, the whole nine. So I love the move in the sense that it gives the Cowboys it gives them a little bit more leverage when they are negotiating with Dak. Oh, you don't want to sign here? We got a guy that we might be developing, so you sure you don't want to sign here? That helps them out. And on the top of that, it does low-key, he'll never admit it, but I know the competitive fire of Ray Dakota Prescott. You guys trade for a quarterback. Bet. He's not going to see the field. I'm going to step my game up. And I want you to step your game up. Right. Because in the playoffs, bro, you stepped your game down the last 2 years. I expect for him, I really do. If he stays healthy and the offensive line, we mentioned that with your Jets, and we'll get to that.
Yes.
If the offensive line stays intact, you know the defense is top 5. You've got top 10 weapons, borderline top 5 with CeeDee Lamb as well. You've got weapons galore. It'll be a big year for Dak. But this move right here, basically low key, he won't admit it, no one will admit it, but I know the game. This low key lights a fire in Dak Prescott to be like, all right, they traded for a guy. Right. Let me step my game up.
And then the other thing that's talked about in the NFL a lot is the whole thing about how much do we pay our running backs now? Because running backs are not being valued like they used to. You're not going to get Le'Veon Bell money anytime soon for any. The Jets have really fumbled that as far as like paying him, and look how he turned out to be and everything. With the fact that you guys didn't even want to bring back Ezekiel Elliott, and now he's going to be in the AFC East with the Patriots, which I think he'll be serviceable to Mac Jones and them and stuff. But I don't look at the Patriots as any kind of threat in the AFC East, to be honest with you. They're going to put up a fight, but I don't see them making any kind of big run, especially who they got at quarterback. But the fact of the matter is that now you're taking away one of Dak's most valuable weapons. I don't know if I haven't nearly watched enough Dallas games as you have, obviously, but I don't know how was the stock of Ezekiel Elliott. What are your thoughts on the fact that he's no longer a Cowboy?
It was inevitable. He's been hurt a lot the last 2 years. He's missed a lot of time. and with knee issues, with leg issues, and for a running back, that's everything. Their legs are everything. He basically became a glorified fullback last year. It was so obvious that he'd have spurts early in the year when he's fresh, probably like within the first 4 to 5 games. Okay, he's still decent enough. He could work it, but his cap number did not match the productivity, and that's what it comes down. It's a numbers game, and Tony Pollard is the real deal. Like I do like Pollard. Yeah. He firmly established himself and is not like a good running back. He's like Ezekiel Elliott without the ego. He's faster and more explosive. Right, and isn't he younger? And younger on top of that. So it's like a Zeke run that'll go from 25-30. A Pollard run, that same run with Pollard is 60 or it's going to the house. You know what I mean? That's the biggest difference. He's a weapon. And it's hard to get those guys. I know running backs are interchangeable, but the ones that are special, the Austin Ecklers, the Christian McCaffreys, the Saquon Barkleys, the Joe Mixons, you got to throw him in that category as well. Absolutely, yeah. And Derrick Henry when he's right, because he's been battling injuries as well. Yep. When those guys are right, those are premium top tier guys that can take it to the house. Those guys need to be on your roster. You figure out a way to keep them on your roster. Jacobs as well. Joshua, we just signed a 1-year deal with the Raiders. Absolutely. Exactly. You keep those guys. So I think they'll keep Pollard. They tagged him. I would give him another 2, 3. The thing with running backs is you're going to start seeing shorter deals. You're going to start seeing 2 or 3-year deals, i.e. Miles Sanders. A lot of franchise tags too. A lot of franchise, $6-7 million going rate versus the top end guys who are just getting tagged and they're making the most money. So you're going to see them get signed, but it's going to be for not as much money as before and shorter deals. So with Zeke leaving, basically, Pollard is going to take on more of a role. They're going to use Deuce Vaughn. He's a weapon. He's another weapon. They're going to bring him along slowly since he's a rookie, but he's going to see a lot of touches. And we got another guy, Hunter Lepke. He's basically like, you remember Chris Cooley back in the day and whatnot? He's like a Chris Cooley who you can run him, you can put him at H-back, you can put him at tight end, you can use him in a lot of different ways. If he makes the 53, which he should, because he's not making it a practice squad. He's that good. He got busy last night in the preseason game. I watched the highlights. I'm going to go watch the full game tonight because I DVR'd it. But you got him as well in the mix who can do a lot of the things that Zeke just couldn't do anymore. Zeke is serviceable in spurts. He's a good right now he's a complimentary running back. In New England, which you're going to see quickly in AFC East games, Stevenson, who I'm going to try to get in fantasy in one of my leagues, he's going to be getting the bulk of the touches, and Zeke's going to come in to spell him or take a couple drives here and there. But the days of him being the bell cow like back in Ohio State or 2016 Zeke or up to 2018, 2019 Zeke, those days are long gone. He just doesn't have the burst or tread left on the tires to be that. But he can still be a very good red zone back to get in the end zone and a good complimentary back. And for what he was being paid, it just the numbers, the math wasn't mathing, which is why he's not in Dallas anymore. Yeah. And what do you think about this thing that was out on social media where when Dak Prescott showed up, he was actually wearing an Ezekiel Elliott Ohio State jersey right before the preseason game? To me, that kind of shows. I'm not saying that he's giving the middle finger to the Dallas organization, but to me, if I was in his shoes, I would feel like I'm sending a message that I'm not exactly two things actually. I'm not exactly happy that you took one of my guys as my weapons away from this team and traded him somewhere else, be it a different conference. Yeah. But the fact of the matter is that maybe in some kind of way he's trying to show support for all running backs around the league, not just Ezekiel Elliott, because he knows how explosive he can be, even though there's not much tread on the tire like you just mentioned. Yeah. But I think he sees that this is where the game is going, but he feels like the guys need to get paid. I mean, at the end of the day, the NFL is a brotherhood, and they always want their boys to get their money. Yeah. What was your take on the fact that he just showed up at a preseason game walking through with a Ezekiel Elliott Ohio State jersey? First of all, they're like best friends. They genuinely love each other. I've watched a lot. Obviously, I cover the team tire to tire, cover to cover, wall to wall. So I know the type of relationship they have. Yeah, I'm surprised you don't work for a beat writer for them. You know? That's goals, man. Working for DallasCowboys.com. That's coming. I already spoke that into existence. Oh, okay. All right. So that'll be there at some point. Keep preaching. Hey, man, we'll get there, man. Slow and steady wins the race. But I know that the two of them are actually genuinely really close, really tight, really good friends. So him wearing a jersey for them, and on top of that, Zeke was a beloved leader because the national media would try to convince you that the Cowboys don't have any leaders, that they're like a country club, that Jerry controls the coach and he calls plays.
Right.
Like, just insert ridiculous, made-up, mythical Walt Disney stereotype, and somebody in the national media has said it at some point, which is rooted in nothing, right? But for clicks, obviously. But Zeke has, since probably, I want to say, since 17 or 18, his third year, he became a leader for that team, along with Dak. Dak and Zeke were the leaders of the offense. They were the unquestioned leaders of the offense. Jason Witten was still around, too. He was beloved. And all the young running backs, including Powell, was a rookie when Zeke was there. And he helped bring him along and be like, listen, yo, don't hit that hole like that. Hit it like this. Or, yo, be patient with it. I think they did Hard Knocks recently with the Cowboys, and bro, they did such a great job of just showing how Zeke basically mentored the younger players on the team, younger running backs on the team. So Dak was wearing his jersey because that's his guy. No matter where he plays, even God forbid if he went to the NFC East to the Eagles or Washington or the Giants, I would literally threw up. Yeah. But I'm glad that didn't happen. And he left in free agency. It's not like they traded him. But even if they were going to trade him, they were going to send him to the AFC, where they were going to maybe see him once every 4 years. So.
Well, you guys played each other this year.
And we do play. We play each other this year.
Yeah. Is it at Jerry's World or is it in New England?
It's at Jerry's World. It's at Jerry's World.
Okay, all right.
Trust me, mark my words. There's going to be a video package of Zeke, a Zeke tribute at the beginning of the game.
I'm pretty sure there was
100%.
Up and stuff.
He was beloved. I loved Zeke from the moment we drafted him. I either wanted him or Jalen Ramsey, and I'm actually happy they took Zeke because Jalen Ramsey is way too much of a prima donna for me. And he's a great player. Great player.
And he's a little bit of a nozzle. Like, he's always starting fights and everything on social media and everything. Like, the Dallas Cowboys have enough distractions as it is. You don't need to add another one like that, of that aspect into it.
Yeah, he would have been, if we would have drafted him, it would have been right on brand with what the national media thinks we are.
Right, and especially due to the fact that it is Dallas, they have this aura about them, for lack of a better term.
Yeah.
They would feel like the criticism would be justified.
But no, I think that to cap that question of yours, I think Dak was just showing solidarity to this guy. He loves Zeke. A lot of guys on that team still love him. A lot of coaches, and of course a lot of fans. Cowboy Nation, we love Zeke. We loved what he did for us. He's not the reason why the drought continued. The clapping idiot played a big role in that. Jason Garrett wasted a lot of prime Zeke years. Like I mentioned on the last show, 2019. Everything was in place similar to this year, and what did we do? We went 8-8 because we got people at coach that don't know what they're doing.
Let's go from Cowboy Nation to Jets Nation. Okay. Shout out to JETS Jets.
Gang green.
Yep. So the preseason for the Giants and the Jets just happened last night. We got the win. I'm very happy about that.
Right.
Exactly. Yeah. What does it mean? It means nothing. Just bragging rights for the next year. You know, the stupid Snoopy Bowl, as Joe Beningo likes. But I was really happy to see Aaron Rodgers in a uniform, and he looked like he was able to handle his own, especially with some of the first and third and second stringers. But I love the highlight that they're showing over and over where Rodgers and to Garrett Wilson. Oh, wow, what a bullet that he just threw, and those guys are going to be something special. I'm looking forward to that. But one of the things that I noticed while I was watching the game for that series, I'm really confident in Aaron Rodgers. He's going to do Aaron Rodgers things, but I got to say, one thing that really scares me is that offensive line, because there was quite a few times where we just couldn't stop getting penalties, and it felt like the pocket was collapsing faster than Aaron Rodgers is used to, from Green Bay especially, and he had to go into Superman mode and make the plays himself. So I'm glad that he has the ability to do that, but how is that going to play over for an entire regular season? Now, I like the fact that they cemented Mekhi Becton as the official right tackle,
as they should.
But even though he's always desired to play left tackle, and I just hope that. The wild card for me is Dwayne Brown, because now he's just starting to finally get into training camp and started to work and mesh, and hopefully it just, I don't know, but I just feel like since this O-line has been so inconsistent through training camp and now through the preseason, these people need time to gel. They need time to gel and work together and make sure that they are a cohesive unit. And one of the things that kind of scares me is that we have a rough 5 weeks, the first 5 weeks of the season, and we have to make sure that Aaron Rodgers stays healthy, and we have to make sure that the offensive line stays cohesive and is gelling and so on and so forth, because Aaron Rodgers has all the weapons. He has Dalvin Cook, he has Garrett Wilson, he has C.J. Uzomah, he has Tyler Conklin, he has all these great weapons, he has Breece Hall. But the thing is, none of that's going to matter unless the O-line can protect him, and that's one of the things that I'm worried about, because God forbid, and knock on wood, something happens to Aaron Rodgers, our backup option is Zach Wilson, who has not really impressed me in the preseason. Yeah, he's showing a little bit of flashes that he's heading in the right direction, but at the same time, even last night, he was doing typical Zach Wilson things. Tim Boyle looked better than Zach Wilson in the preseason. And that's one of the things that really gives me a lot of trepidation. So I'm just really hoping that O-line really stays solid and Aaron Rodgers could do the things that he's known for in this league. A Super Bowl champion, Super Bowl MVP, 4-time MVP in the league. And I hope, and you could tell that he has the desire to want to win. He not only wants to be in New York, but he definitely wants to bring a championship here to the city. But for me, the wild card is that offensive line yesterday in the preseason game. It really scared me. And that was just for one series. Imagine how it's going to play out in an entire 2 hours or 60 minutes in a game.
Yeah, and you got to keep in mind, all the top-tier, high-end AFC teams, they all can rush the quarterback. Like Kansas City can rush the quarterback.
With Chris Jones and them.
Chris Jones and them, if he decides to get paid.
Yeah,
if he's not
I feel he's coming back.
He's coming back.
Yeah, Kansas City knows how to take care of their people.
Yeah, that'd be a very foolish move if they didn't take care of him, because that changes the whole landscape of their defense. So, assuming Chris Jones comes back at some point, yeah, Kansas City can get after the quarterback. Buffalo can get after the quarterback.
Yeah.
And the Bengals, they can get after the quarterback.
Oh, absolutely.
All the high-end AFC teams can get after the quarterback. So that offensive line is going to be very paramount for you guys. I think that it's going to be it's going to be important to see how they gel as the season goes along. And like you said, you don't want Zach Wilson out. You don't want to see Zach Wilson at any point throughout these. Assuming Aaron Rodgers plays 2 years, I think he'll play 2. I don't think this is one and done.
No, it's not.
Assuming he plays the 2 years, you want to see as much. You want him on the field as much as humanly possible.
Absolutely.
I
do not want to see Zach Wilson
as
on the field at all in the entire NFL season. I want him to be a Patrick Mahomes in his rookie year, where he's just sitting behind Alex Smith the entire season.
Yeah. So your offensive line is going to be very important if you guys want to get to where you guys want to get to. Like I said, you guys were a playoff team last year.
Yeah.
If you guys had a halfway competent quarterback, I think Joe Flacco would have started the whole season from wire to wire. Definitely if Mike White started from wire to wire. Ask Joe Beningo about that.
Oh my God, he had a Mike White love affair ever since that Bengal game.
He loved himself some Mike White.
And now he's not happy that he's with the Dolphins now.
He's not with that. He expressed that when he came on the Ugo Boy podcast. But no, so you guys got to get that offensive line together, man, because you guys are not going to be a viable threat in that already loaded Hunger Games conference of the AFC and without an offensive line.
I know, and God forbid if it goes that way, then we're just going to have to rely on the defense, which I actually feel very confident in. That defense last night in the preseason game, I know it's just preseason, it means what? It means nothing, but they look solid. And I'm really expecting a breakout year for Jermaine Johnson this year, because Jermaine Johnson, I feel like he wasn't utilized properly last year, and they were still trying to figure out how to use him in that defensive line, but he's been really showing out in the preseason, and I think I really hope that he makes a lot of noise this season. And then afterwards, you're going to have a problem that the Jets are going to love to have. There's going to come a time where you got to pay Garrett Wilson and Sauce Gardner and Jermaine Johnson, because they were all drafted in this first round.
Yeah, you guys are going to have the same problem we're having right now. It's a good problem. Yeah. You want a lot of great players on your team to know that, okay, thank God I don't have to draft that position, or I don't have to go searching for that position in a trade or free agency or whatnot. Like we got to pay, which we did. We paid Trey, CD, Mike is coming up. For you guys, Garrett Wilson, Sauce, Jermaine Johnson's going to come up at some point. Vera Tucker's going to come up at some point. You didn't even mention him. He had a first round grade on him for pretty much everybody.
Oh yeah, but the thing about Vera Tucker, as much as I love him and I really do, he has a little bit of a health problem as well. It was like when we won that game against Denver last year, it was a great win, but at what it cost. We lost Breece Hall for the season and Elijah Vera Tucker for the season, and then there was other injuries that I can't think of right now. Luckily, they weren't gone for the season, but that game affected us. Yeah. And then I think that actually helped. That played a factor as to why we didn't make it to the playoffs, aside from the fact that Zach Wilson was just a shell of himself. I'm very confident in the defense, and I got to give a lot of credit to the defensive coordinator, Jeff Ulbrich, because I remember when they first got there, the first year of Zach Wilson and Robert Saleh and them, that defense was ranked last. And people were already talking about if Jeff Ulbrich will even survive the season, because they were 32nd out of 32 teams in the NFL. And then next year, he elevated it to a top 10 defense, hopefully a top 5 this year. So I got to give a lot of credit to him. And I'm so glad that we got rid of Mike LaFleur, because it just seemed like him and Zach Wilson were not meshing well. And I think he was in over his head as far as like an offensive coordinator. One of the things that made me laugh about Mike LaFleur, before he even started one game as an official offensive offensive coordinator. People were already raving about one day this guy's going to be a head coach. I don't know about that. He didn't show really much to show any head coach material, but I'm also looking forward to Nathaniel Hackett. I think the fact that he has Aaron Rodgers with him and he knows the system, and I think it's going to elevate the players. I think Garrett Wilson's already elevated himself already in the preseason. I'm looking forward to that. I can't wait to get my Garrett Wilson jersey. I don't buy quarterback jerseys just yet. You got to win a Super Bowl in order to get that.
True.
I made that mistake with Mark Sanchez, and then look what we had. We had the butt fumble. So as much as I love Aaron Rodgers and I'm happy that he's here in New York, I feel like I can't get a jersey just yet until he lifts that Lombardi trophy up for the New York Jets.
I'm getting a Sauce jersey. You already know that's my guy.
Juice versus Sauce,
Streaming on all digital platforms, baby. Yeah, video just crossed 108,000.
Yeah. Now, we talked about this earlier with Hard Knocks last week, which we know your boy Mongo, your co-host for the Sports Talk.
I'm stating.
he's not watching and everything, but have you got a chance to watch the Hard Knocks?
Yeah, so I didn't see the most recent episode, but I've watched pretty much all of them up until that one. And again, Liev Schreiber he's the GOAT. It's Ray Donovan, really. Ray Donovan is the GOAT. I love what he does in terms of narrating and just bringing the story to life. Again, I mentioned it before. I was a huge Aaron Rodgers fan before he started killing my team in the playoffs. I loved him. I love Brett Favre because Brett Favre knew his place. He knew in the 90s, listen, put your numbers up, just lose to Dallas in the playoffs. And he did what he was told he was supposed to do. Not Aaron Rodgers. Not Favre. But Paul Tagliabue was saying his name wrong on draft night.
I'm also thinking about There's Something About Mary.
How they mentioned quick sidebar. I love how they called him Brett the whole time.
Yeah.
And everyone's, it's her boyfriend. And like, wait, your ex-boyfriend was actually Brett Favre? Who'd you think it was? Great Easter egg there. But,
yes, absolutely.
But no, so I think it's a great show. HBO does a marvelous job. No matter who, they can put the Washington Generals in and cover
Commanders.
Or Washington whatever. The Washington Tea Party. They can put them in on Hard Knocks. I'm still gonna watch and be enthralled. Like, oh my God, these visuals.
Hard Knocks, I think, did a good job with. I think it was last year where they had the Detroit Lions.
Yeah, I watched every episode.
And it made Dan Campbell a star. That guy, I'm not a Detroit fan, but I figured Dan Campbell. He's the type of guy that I would run through a brick wall.
I would love to play for Dan. I love me some Dan Campbell. He's one of my favorite coaches. I loved him as a player. He was very hard-nosed. I love the old school tight ends, man. Like the Mark Bavaro, Tony Gonzalez, of course the Antonio Gates, the Jason Wittens of the world, the Dan Campbells. I love the guys. Gronk. We were spoiled growing up in terms of the tight end era. It's coming back now, though. Like Travis Kelce, what he's doing with George Kittle. They're doing. There's a great group with the Cowboys now. Jason Ferguson.
And what's that dude from Atlanta again?
Oh, Kyle Pitts. Yeah, I think that the tight end position is sexy again. It's being drafted high. There's being a premium put on it, and you can honestly, you have to have one. You have to have an athletic, pass catching, blocking tight end. A must now.
Yes.
Because it changes the whole landscape of your offense. You have so many more options. You can leave him in the block or look like he's blocking, then split him out. You can put him in the slot, split him out as a receiver. They're a nightmare in the goal line. Again, Patrick Mahomes has 2 Super Bowl rings because of Travis Kelce.
Oh, absolutely.
You can make the argument that Tyreek Hill, Cheetah was a big part, and he was. But you give me an either or. Why did they really win? It is Travis Kelce. They get there because of Travis Kelce. They win because of Travis Kelce's. You got to have one. But I love Dan Campbell and what he's doing, and I love what Hard Knocks has been doing really since the beginning. They do a really good job of telling the stories within the stories of the NFL, and football really is king.
Yeah, but one of the things that I noticed about Hard Knocks, because Rich Cimini pointed this out on the Michael Kay show, that you haven't really seen a lot of Joe Douglas, the GM on Hard Knocks, and that kind of leads to believe that there's actually not Joe Douglas is not a fan, and he just figures, you know what, you guys do what you got to do, but I don't want to be a part of it. I got my own job to do anyway, and that just goes to show how much they really did not want Hard Knocks to be a part of the NFL, but it was rammed down their throat.
The league wanted you guys to have it, and that's typically what it is. They typically do like a flyer, whoever wants it, and then the league and Goodell was like, okay, who do people really want to see? So every 4 or 5 years, it's going to be the Cowboys, which is annoying because it's just baked in. I just know within the next half decade they're going to do it, and we'd be on their prop. That would be our third or fourth time having it, and it's just, geez, Louise, man. Okay, all right, but I'm glad you guys have some of that now. You get to experience it. I know Mongo's not a fan of it. And some certain Jet fans aren't, but you guys are getting the star treatment. Congratulations.
I don't know if we want it, but anyway. But as far as keeping it in New York sports and also with NFL, because King, as far as the Giants go, I love Brian Dable. I always said, I've been saying it since day one, that I wanted him as my head coach before we got Robert Saleh. And I still love Robert Saleh, but Dable was my number one. Yeah. And he obviously won the Coach of the Year with the Giants in his first season. Yeah. And they were a surprise team, but I don't know. I feel like because of the fact that the Giants actually exceeded expectations last year, now they really have a target on their back, and they're still in the AFC East. They're not beating up the NFC. I'm sorry, excuse me. Jesus. But the fact that they still got to go over the Eagles, which are one of the best teams in the league. Yeah. Dallas is no scrub, and the Commanders are the Commanders. I think they're going to be a horrible team this year because Ron Rivera, I think he's on the hot seat. They got new ownership now. I think there's going to be a lot of changeovers, like Odyssey, Jace, a lot of mergers and a lot of things that are changing there now. But yeah, I feel like, and also I was looking at the roster, and maybe some of them are second stringers or whatever, but a lot of them are like, some of them are leading like no-name ex-Jets players like Lawrence Cager and Jamison Crowder, and you got Tyrod Taylor as a backup quarterback. Hopefully Daniel Jones will stay healthy, but I don't know. I'm just not a big believer in Daniel Jones. Maybe he'll get better. Maybe he'll see the same one that we saw last year, but I don't know. I feel like Giants fans need to temper their expectations because I don't think they're going to get a repeat of next year. I think that they came out a surprise, and they surprised a lot of people. They didn't know how well coached they were going to be. Now they painted a target on their back, and everybody else, including the entire NFC is going to be like mauling at them.
Yeah, you listen to New York radio, and they're already putting them in the Super Bowl.
Yeah, but
it's like a dark horse, and I don't. Here's what it is. Here's what it is. I'll debunk it for you real quick, as an informed sports journalist and fan.
Savage.
They haven't been good for a very long time.
No, it's all about luck.
So we're talking. They haven't been to the playoffs in 6 years. They've had double-digit losing seasons for a while now.
And they've gotten rid of 3 coaches in 2 years each.
Which is actually historically comically bad.
Yeah, that's very Jet-like.
They've been a very bad franchise for a number of years now. And I get it. It's the New York market. They're super excited. They feel like Daniel Jones, if he could just catch lightning in a bottle, he can be another Eli Manning. They just need to get into the tournament. And they're doing all these comparisons to the 2007 team and the 2010 team. And he's coming along. And here we go, Giants, Big Blue, here it comes. And I'm just rolling my eyes because I'm just like, you guys realize that you're just hyping and hyping. You're doing everything you say Cowboy fans do every year. Just creating this magical hype train. I've seen stuff on not even New York radio, but national radio. They're saying like Daniel Jones is better than Dak Prescott right now. Like
my God.
Brian,
that is a hack writer, whoever wrote that.
Oh my God, Orlowski, honestly.
The same guy that thought that Zach Wilson was going to be like the next Patrick Mahomes.
Exactly. What does that say? Just saying that saying Dan Orlowski, let's keep it on Dan-O, who Michael Lombardi cannot stand. The same Dan-O who said that Joe Montana wasn't a top 5 quarterback all time. God. The same Dan-O that said that the Washington Commanders were going to be better than the Cowboys for the last 3 years because Ron Rivera automatically is somehow better than Mike McCarthy, who has a Super Bowl. The same Dan-O, I'm going to stay on him. The same Dan-O.
I'm going to just sit back real quick.
The same Dan-O who says that the Giants offense is going to be more prolific than the Cowboys offense. He said that. He feels like Darren Waller, Sterling Shepard, Darius Slay.
All injury-prone guys.
All injury-prone guys. All guys who would probably be number 5 receivers. Waller would be a number 1 tight end. Slayton probably he's not even beats our 4th best wide receiver right now in Jalen Tolbert. You're saying that offense is going to be more prolific than the Cowboys offense. This is the Giants offense in a nutshell, bro. It's Waller now, but really, before Waller, it's Saquon Barkley. Mm-hmm. It's Saquon. Mm-hmm. They're going to live and die with 26. He's going to get something crazy like 400 or 500 touches because he's on a 1-year deal. You don't want to sign with us long term? We're going to run you to the ground and then do free agency then. We'll draft your replacement. That's what they're about to do to this guy. And everyone knows it. Everyone knows it. Everyone in that building knows it. Everybody who's a fan knows it. Everybody who's a fan of other teams in the division knows it.
They don't want to admit it.
They don't want to admit it, but they know it. He's about to get some crazy number of touches this year, and his usage is going to be off the charts. I said this last year. The usage of Saquon this year is going to be very similar to the usage of Cooper Kupp.
Yeah. Would you put him in your fantasy?
So I got Kupp last year and he got hurt. So I did not draft him in my.
I'm talking about Barkley though.
Oh, Barkley. I would never draft Saquon. Okay. I just wouldn't, because number one, he's injury prone, and number two,
that ACL.
ACLs. They say they get better. I'm very skeptical about that. But the thing with Saquon is great player when healthy. Home run hitter. This, that, and the third.
Great kid too.
Great kid on top of that. He went to Penn State. He's a legend at Happy Valley. I'm telling you, as an alumnus, he is.
I believe it.
I don't know why his jersey's not retired yet, but it should be, and it will be.
Yes.
But, and of course, Micah's going to be retired as well. They probably should do them together, honestly. But what I will say this, with the Giants are going to be, because there's an extra wild card, they'll be good enough, and Dable is who strikes fear in my heart. He keeps me up at night because he's such a great coach.
Yeah, and that's the thing about the Giants. I think they're going to be exceptionally coached. I just don't know if they're going to be able to stay healthy, and if they're going to be actually they could rise to the occasion. Right now, you have a 5-star gourmet chef cooking McDonald's.
Yeah.
That's what you have with the Giants. Right?
They're a year further into the program than him and the GM, the former Buffalo front office guy. They're building a contender. They're building a year in, year out contender. They're about a year or two away. As long as they have Daniel Jones, I'm rolling my eyes, because he's not, bro. He is at best the third best quarterback in the division. He's not better than Jalen Hurts. It might be a better thrower than Jalen Hurts.
Probably, yeah.
But
he has the arm.
He definitely has the arm and the accuracy. He's not a better all-around quarterback right now than Jalen Hurts, and he's not a better all-around quarterback than Dak Prescott. And we'll see about the Washington Commanders real quick, because I'm with you on Ron Rivera. I don't think he's a good coach. I think he's a very overrated coach.
I think there's a good chance that he's going to be let go before the end of the season, and they're going to put in Eric Bieniemy as the interim.
And don't be shocked if they're like low-key tanking for the Caleb Williams franchise lottery ticket. Arizona is that. They done traded away 10 players for picks or whatever. But if Washington starts to tailspin, don't be shocked if, with new ownership, a new front office, they don't try to trade up and go all in and get Williamson, because they love Howell. Everybody looks good in preseason.
Yeah.
Everybody looks good in preseason. You know what I mean? I know, and you know this, we talk about it all the time. Preseason is fake football. Yeah. Preseason is WWE football.
That's all it is. That's a perfect analogy for it.
Absolutely. I don't buy too much stock in it. There's a reason why a lot of teams don't even play their starters at all. Dude, we didn't play any of our starters in preseason that weren't drafted this year. We got to play our draft picks. They got to get their feet wet and get ready and just learn the difference in game speed from the college to the NFL game. Play them as many snaps and as many reps as possible.
Yes.
But I don't want to see CeeDee Lamb tearing an ACL or getting a high ankle sprain. I don't want to see that happen to Micah. I don't want to see that happen to Trey Diggs. I don't want to see that happen to Dak. He falls funny. I don't want to see that happen to Zach Martin or any of our top tier offensive linemen. I want them in bubble wrap with a baseball cap on, with their jersey with no equipment underneath, popping sunflower seeds and signing autographs. That's what I wanted to see, and that's what I got out of preseason. But full circle with the Giants, they'll be good enough. They'll be good enough this year, I think, to get into the playoffs. They might even shock. They might even not.
I'm not so sure about.
I don't think they'll take a step back. The only way they take a step back is if Saquon gets hurt. If Saquon gets hurt,
that's your whole offense right there.
It is, dude. Our listeners, go look at the stats with Saquon injured and Saquon healthy of Daniel Jones. It is night and day. That's what they used to say about Dak. Can't say that anymore. Zeke's not even on the team anymore. Can't say that anymore. But you can say that about Daniel Jones. He becomes a different player when defenses know he's got to beat us. He's got to throw the ball. We're rushing 4, and we're dropping 8. And we'll see if you can dice us up like you did at Duke at quarterback, bro. You can't do it. He can't do it. It's not in him. And Waller's going to help. I think, when they've got all their pieces together, they'll be a better offense, but it's not going to be better like Chiefs level. You talk to some people like Dano and some people like ESPN or the national writers, they're talking like the Giants are going to morph into the Chiefs or the freaking 99 Rams like overnight, which is comical. I'm like, who on that offense is Marshall Faulk? So I guess it's Saquon. Okay, who's Torrey Holt? Who? Jalen Hyatt is the greatest wide receiver in NFL history now. He's fast and he's explosive, but come on, let the guys play the game. Again, I keep telling you, they're excited. They haven't been good in a while.
Yeah.
That's where the excitement is. Right. And they better pump the brakes because they're in for a rude awakening when they play the really good teams this year, like the top end teams this year, and when they play those NFC East games. Like, I'm just sitting back. I'm not saying much. Aside from this show, I'm just going to sit back and watch the show.
Right. I got to say, we are getting a fiery Ugo today, man. I'm really loving this fiery that you're spitting out right now, and I think you have a little bit more extra in the tank, and this is something that I wanted to just talk about as well because you've been very active on Twitter and everything. I want to talk about a certain native New Yorker. I'm Mr. New York. I'm from Hollis, Queens, and everything like that. You know who I'm already talking about, the puppet show of ESPN. You know that he always has to go off on your Cowboys and so on and so forth. I feel like you have a lot left in the tank to go out and say what you got to say to him. I'm going to give you the opportunity to go out and throw darts at him at this point now.
Okay, he's talking about Stephen A. Smith. I actually used to work on his show, the Stephen A. Smith show, when I was with Odyssey for 2 years. The Michael Eric Dyson episode, I produced that one with my boy Greg. Shout out to Greg, love you, dog.
Okay.
He's still crushing it over there. Listen, man, I get it, man. Guys like Stephen A. and Skip Bayless and Dan O. and Nick Wright and Colin Cowherd and Joy Taylor and LaShawn McCoy and Fox Sports. Let's just say Fox Sports and ESPN. I like that. They know where their bread is buttered. They have been the Dak segments this offseason. Jesus Christ. They have been on another level. They're always crazy and ridiculous, but they found a way each year to just ratchet it up to just more and more buffoonish, clownish takes. You got Joy Taylor saying Dak Prescott isn't talented enough to make it to an NFC Championship game. But Daniel Jones is, though.
Isn't she a Giant? No, Joy Taylor's a Dolphin fan.
She's a Dolphin fan.
Yeah, okay. So
name me next to Ray Finkel, the last good Dolphin that you can name. I'll sit and I'll wait. I
don't want to waste time.
Exactly. We'll see if Tua can stay healthy if we want to keep it with the Dolphins, and they're in your AFC East, so that'll be fun. Yeah. But no, Stephen A's doing his regular song and dance, bro. This guy's made a fortune off of trolling Cowboy fans. He's a secret Cowboy fan. He admitted he was a Cowboy fan in the 90s with Jimmy Johnson and the Triplets. He admitted that on camera. I remember it. I've been looking for the clip. It's somewhere in the metaverse. It's somewhere on YouTube. I'm going to find the clip. I'm going to clip it up, and I'm going to put it on Sports Talk. It's out there. And I'm going to put it on Sports Talk with Mongo. Love you, buddy. But no, Stephen A., he's just trolling. I can't wait to the day where the drought does end. I'm not a delusional Cowboy fan or delusional fan in any regard. Right. I'm not saying this is our year or whatever. I got 28 years of not doing that.
Try 50 years. But
we're in the same support group for teams that break our hearts. But the thing with Stephen A., man, he's got. I can't wait to the day when they do win it. And I guarantee you that Monday, mark my words, that Monday after the Cowboys do win the Super Bowl, whatever that is, the first thing this idiot's going to say is, they ain't going to repeat. I'll put anything on it. You know they ain't going to repeat. Because that's his thing is the Cowboys lose because Stephen A. Smith has this made-up, concocted curse. What can go wrong will go wrong. An accident waiting to happen. Like, how did the Steelers look last year? Because he claims to be a Steelers fan. Yeah. And how have they looked with old man Big Ben back there the past few years? Whatever. If the Steelers didn't have Mike Tomlin, they'd be the Jets. Honestly. Like, really think about that. They haven't been knocking your socks off with draft picks and amazing seasons the past few years. They had that one year recently when they started out like 13-0, but everybody knew they'd be one and done. Right. Because you got Big Ben throwing the ball. He couldn't throw the ball past 5 yards. And I'm like, in the playoffs, that's not going to work. And they got knocked out by the Browns. It's like, I get what Stephen A. Smith is doing now. The season hasn't even started. All the wrestling promo shows, all the Fox and ESPN and national outlets, they're ragging. They're doing what they always do. They're creating the narrative that the Cowboys are going to screw it up. The Cowboys are going to screw it up. The Cowboys are going to screw it up. And real Cowboy fans, shout out to the real ones in Twitter And on social media, the ones that I follow, shout out my boy Dave Sturcio, Chop City, my guy. Shout out to all the Cowboy, to Vach Lombardi, to Skywalker Steele. There's a ton of Cowboy guys that I follow that really cover the team, really cover the team, breaking down film, bro. And some of them have credentials and they actually cover the Cowboys. They're actually in the building covering training camp and preseason and regular season or whatnot. I follow the people that understand that the fake take shows. That's what we call it. They got a fake take. They got to spread the BS. They got to drop the promos. Ain't nobody in Cowboy Nation worried about that guy. He's gonna do a song and dance, and when the Cowboys win, he'll shut up for a week. But then he'll go to his caveat. Yeah, the Cowboys won, and yeah, whatever. But just wait. Just wait. It's like a train. What can go wrong will go wrong. Accident waiting to happen. Like all his nonsense. It's entertaining. It's wrestling.
That's all
wrestling.
It is, yeah.
I look at him like a manager for like Yokozuna Fuji or a Paul Bearer or a Paul Heyman.
There you go.
A lot of Pauls. He's just a wrestling manager, bro. He's not a sports journalist anymore. He used to be.
He used to be.
Not anymore.
Yeah. Now, transition from the NFL to the MLB. So right now, the Yankees have lost yet again to the Tampa Bay Rays, who are clearly a better team. Yeah, Shocker. But this is actually what's really interesting. The bench is clear when the Rays sprint out twice in one inning after Randy responds to a hit by pitch by stealing second and third. To me, that goes to show that the Yankees are finally spiraling. Like now the losing is getting to them. Now they don't feel as confident that they're going to make a run. I saw a ridiculous stat on the internet where they, technically they're not mathematically eliminated, but we know they're not going to make it to the playoffs. And they were saying that if they can go on a 35-4 run, then they can make the playoffs. That's not going to happen. I think it's already as said and done. Put the nail in the coffin as already is. But the fact that the benches were clearing by hit by pitch, I think that this shows that the players are now spiraling. And also with the fact, one of the things that also really makes me not happy at all is the fact that Brian Cashman did speak to the media earlier this week, and my God, is he a bore? Oh my God, listening to him is like watching paint dry. But the point that I'm getting at is that the fact that he actually spoke to the media tells me that they're not going to get rid of him anytime soon.
No, he's safe. Everything I've heard and every major outlet, Michael Kay included, Don LaGreca, everybody, Rosenberg, the whole lot of them. They know he's staying. Yeah. Boone's gone. Boone is not going to survive.
What does that do? That does nothing. He's just a scapegoat.
They have to have a fall guy. The front office and Hal Steinbrenner, they love Brian Cashman. They love him the way, we use the analogy, they love him the way the Cowboys front office and Jerry love Jason Garrett.
Mm-hmm. Cashman is essentially the unofficial brother to Hal.
Exactly. Like Cashman is Brian Garrett or Cashman Jarrett. It's the same logic. Just a guy that is okay at his job, decent at his job, all right. But the flip side to it, half of the time he's all right. The other half, he's remarkably terrible at it. Like you go look at the
There's no middle ground.
There's no middle ground.
Yeah.
The middle ground is 8-8 or 81-81, which I would love for the Yankees to finish 81-81. I think that would be so apropos. Jason Garrett might get a job out of it.
So, Jesus Christ.
No, but look. I'm gonna outline some trades for you, and again, stop me when or let me know when I'm not telling the truth, as CM Punk would say, some version of that. Yeah. The Frankie Montas trade, what have we gotten out of that?
Nothing.
The Josh Donaldson, I'm sorry for saying his name, but I had to. The Josh Donaldson IKF trade, what have we gotten out of that?
I can't think of anything.
The Luis Trevino trade, what have we gotten out of that?
What? Who the hell is Luis Trevino?
I'm going to stop there. I've got 10 more.
The Stanton was...
I wasn't going to mention that, but I'll add that to the list. Yeah. The Stanton trade, how's that working out for us?
He's been in the city now for 4 or 5 years now, and come on, what's going on? The guy can't even stay healthy. He has the body of a tight end more than an actual baseball player at this point.
Dave shot to Shop City. He mentioned that. He's built like an effing tight end, his words. And mind you, the Stanton has $32 million owed to him next year, $32 million owed to him the year after, 18 after that, and a $10 million buyout.
And a no-trade clause.
And a full no-trade clause. So, again, what did I say? I said it for the past few episodes. I'm going to say it every damn episode until I see what we're doing. If the offseason does not begin with us going to Giancarlo, sitting down with him and saying, listen, bro, where do you want to go? Where you don't want to go? Straight out the wire.
Yeah.
He's McNulty. Where do you want to go? And where you don't? Because we got to move you. We got to eat some of this contract that we don't want to, but the Marlins fleeced us. They knew something we didn't do. He's over there calling the Marlins organization. I remember his introductory press conference. He called the Marlins show like a clown show. I'm like, bro, your numbers are clownish right now. And I love the...
Just in Miami, if that's the case.
Exactly. I love the 900-foot home runs he hits. I love the exit velocity and all the StatCast stuff and the big biceps and all that. All that's fun to look at from time to time. But he strikes out way too much. He doesn't put the ball in play, and he's going to get hurt. Like clockwork, he's going to get hurt. You can mark him down for missing X amount of games. And his body type and his play style is not sustainable to win a championship.
No,
I said it once, I'll say it again. So they need to move him. They're going to get as many prospects as possible, move him to somewhere over in the National League because he loves playing in the National League. That's where he won the MVP at.
Apparently,
you can hit as many home runs, meaningless home runs as you want. Maybe the Marlins might take him back. Who knows?
As long as the Yankees take a big chunk of that contract.
They're going to have to eat and swallow a chunk of that contract, get as many prospects as you can for him, and move him, and then replace him with Shohei Ohtani or Juan Soto. All right, I understand we got a lot of kids. We got Martian.
Yeah,
and
Jason Dominguez. Yeah.
Exactly. We called up Everson, which I'm happy about. I like him.
I like him too.
We got Volpe. He's already up. And Austin Wells is in the pipeline. We got kids that are ready to go. But they need to figure out what they want to do. Are you going to call up all... Honestly, they should call up all the kids because they're not going anywhere this year.
No, they're not.
They're not going to playoffs. Call up all the kids.
What they're going to do, the arrogant thing that they're going to do is that they're going to wait until they're technically, mathematically eliminated from the playoffs, and then afterwards they're going to have to bring up all the guys that they want to bring up from AAA. That's what they're going to do because their arrogance and their ignorance actually thinks that they can go on a run and actually make a wild card because we're the Yankees. We know baseball. We're smarter than everybody. The analytics tell us this and that. And Brian Cashman, we believe in him. He's done this before. It's just they're finding constant ways to justify their actions that are not justifiable.
Their core is old. I said this on the last episode. Their core is old. DJ LeMay.
This is MLB's retirement home.
Essentially. They have the youngest starting line. I hope you don't realize this. We have got the oldest team in the league. I was watching. The average age is 29. On average, which is last. It's the oldest team in the league. You're talking about teams that the average age is like 23 and 22 and 24. It's a young man's game. But no, your core is Rizzo, who might not play again this year because he's concussed.
Who also had worse stats than Joey Gallo this year.
Exactly. He's a shell of himself. He's old. DJ LeMahieu, I know he hit 2 home runs the other night, but that might...
A little bit too late.
He might hit... Those might be the last home runs he hits all year, honestly. Because right on brand, the very next day, we lost 3-0. All right, we didn't score at all. You know what I mean? So it's just, and then you've got Stanton, who is going to give you under 200 hitting. He'll hit a home run once a month that goes like to the moon, but that's about it. You need him to hit with runnings or scoring position. You need him in a key at bat. No, and I feel for Judge. I feel for Cole. Because you've got 2 of the best players, not just in the league, you got generational talents.
Yes, and you're wasting them in their prime.
This is the prime years for both of those guys. You have, if Abreu's still probably going to win the MVP, but prorate Judge's numbers, he doesn't get hurt. It's a 2-man race yet again for the MVP with him and Ohtani. And with Cole, he's getting, like I think you had mentioned it. My boy Chop Sports had mentioned it. He's getting the DeGrom treatment now. He'll go out and give you 7 innings of a run, maybe 2 if it's a semi-off night or somebody touches him up for a lucky home run. That's it. And then he'll give you 11 strikeouts, and then we won't give him any run support whatsoever. And then he'll take a loss or a no decision. So right now, dude, the way they're currently constructed, the core is too old to compete. It just is. So the offseason they've got to pick a plan and stick with it. They got to figure out, because Boone will be gone. He'll be I mentioned before, he's going to be the sacrificial lamb. They couldn't justify it when it got swept by the Astros.
No.
But this needed to happen. I said, me and Mongo said this. Something else drastic needs to happen for one of those guys to go. And them missing the playoffs, the fact that you couldn't even make a 3rd wild card with the biggest payroll in baseball, Boone's going to go. We're interested to see who they replace him with. But Cashman's job now is to figure out, what do we want to be? Do we want to be an analytic team, which is not going to win because it's not a sustainable business model?
No, it is not.
Or
especially in the playoffs.
Exactly, especially in the playoffs. Or are we going to get back to team building? Last year's episode. Are we going to get back to understanding, okay, let's identify our core and let's go back to being the Yankees. We can buy whoever we want. There's nothing stopping them. I said it last episode. There's nothing stopping them from getting Ohtani. There's nothing stopping them from getting Ohtani. You could sign him to whatever contract you want and have Ohtani and Judge at the center of your lineup next year. You can have that. It's there.
Yeah.
They're gonna, and I don't think they're gonna get him. They're just gonna choose and say, you know what? We'll get 5 guys that equal Ohtani.
Because that's what the numbers say.
That's what the numbers say. That's what Billy Beane told me to do. So that's what we're going to do. And we'll trot that out there. We'll win 85 games. We'll barely get the 3rd wild card. and we'll get knocked out by the Mariners or the Orioles or insert team that does things the right way that the Yankees used to do. That's what's going to happen. Trust me. That's what's going to happen.
Exactly. I think you capped it off pretty beautifully right there, man. We also talk about the Mets and everything, but they're not really doing much this year. They already punted on the season. But I will give them credit because they seem to be playing really good baseball now, especially since they've had a fire sale and they're already building for next year or maybe in 2 years. But I at the early of the season, I thought that Buck was going to get fired, but I think with the job that he's doing right now, I think they're going to give him one last shot.
I think that, again, they got Ron Acuna's brother, who is supposed to be low-key almost as good as his brother.
Right, yeah.
They got him now in the pipeline now. They were smart enough to get ahead of the curve.
Yeah, and Pete Alonso, they got to sign him. They got to lock him up.
Polar Bear's going to stay. He loves being a Met.
Yeah, he loves being a Met. Stevie Cohen's got the money. This ain't the Wilpons anymore.
Yeah.
They got it. If it was just the Wilpons, they would have traded him by now probably.
Yeah. Alonso's agent's going to be like, what did Judge get? Give me that contract or a little bit more. And then, or honestly, if he's smart, he'll be like, let Shohei get his contract first.
True, yeah.
And then he'll be like,
Stevie could swing it. He could swing it.
Yeah. So honestly, Polar Bear is going to stay. They got a ton of young guys. They'll probably be bad next year. But again, they'll take their lumps and they'll begin to. Don't be shocked if the Mets turn into a juggernaut like in a couple of years, probably 3 or 4. Give it 3 or 4 years.
Right.
If they build it the right way, if they don't met it up, because they're notorious for doing that too.
Yes, they are. Yeah,
if they don't met it up, they'll be really good and really dangerous for years to come because they have a young core that's there. They've got their superstar in Alonso.
Yes.
If they get the pitching figured out, watch out for the Mets in the coming years.
Yeah, I mean, Senga's been doing pretty good, but I don't think he's going to be like a full ace for the Mets. But
they got to go find one.
They definitely got to go find one.
He's either in their AAA somewhere or in their farm system. And he hasn't been
basically Senga's like a Clark Schmidt. That's what.
That's a good number 2 guy or number 3 guy
absolutely.
to have in your rotation. You need those guys. It's a long season. But again, they've got a GM that's willing to spend money, an owner that's willing to spend money. The Mets are a few years and a few pieces away, honestly, since they did the trades, they did what they needed to do to eat the contracts they had to eat to get all these young players. The Mets will be good in a couple years.
Right. And I just want to say this out right now. Put it out in the universe, manifest it and everything. Hal Steinbrenner, get rid of Cashman, get Theo Epstein. You want to talk about analytics? You got Theo Epstein, who won World Series for the Red Sox and the Chicago Cubs, using the same analytics that you guys live and die by. Go get Theo Epstein. Just give him a blank check and tell him how much.
Facts.
There you go. That's all I want to say right now. We'll put a cap on it. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you so much for watching another episode, a fiery episode of Yo New York Sports.
That's spicy.
Yeah, I loved it. This is great. We got to shout out Mina Mendoza. All right, so where can they find you real quick on social media, Ugo?
Oh, as always, UgoBoy88 on all channels. That's TikTok, Facebook, Instagram. The Ugo Boy podcast streaming on all digital platforms. Live from Bravery Studios, as always.
Yes.
We've got new episodes, new sports talk episodes with my main man Mongo. New vlogs with the Harlem Wizards. Got a new season of that getting ready to kick off. So yeah, Ugo Boy podcast on all digital platforms. Go stream that.
Yes, and ladies and gentlemen, you can find me at Jason_Enrique on all social medias, Instagram, TikTok, Twitter, Facebook, Threads, all of them. Follow me and follow the First Class Second Place podcast page on Instagram as well. And look out for more of Yo New York Sports.
Peace.